Plato. Plato or Platon was an Athenian philosopher during the classical period in ancient Greece. He was born on 428 to 427 or 424 to 423 BC and born in Athens, Greece. He was died on 348 or 347 BC at the age of 80. Plato belonged to an aristocratic, influential, and a noble Athenian family. His father is Ariston and his mother is Perictione. Plato was the first philosopher to produce a substantial body of work that has survived. It means that his work or theories until now was still known. Together with Aristotle, he has been the most important influence on the Western philosophy. He gave a big contribution to the Western philosophy. Next, he disliked the Athenian democracy not because of his background or his life, but because of the trial and execution of his teacher Socrates in 399 BCE. Because of that, he was related to those involved in the aristocratic rule of 30 tyrants, or those Spartans that imposed oligarchy that ruled Athens after the Peloponnesian War. After Sparta finally defeated Athens and occupied the city, they replaced the city's democracy with an oligarchy of 30 tyrants. It happens between 404 to 403 BCE. The rule of Plato in the 30 Tyrants is that in the opening of his 7th letter, he recounts the rule of the 30 tyrants during his youth. He explains that following the revolution, 51 men became rulers of the new government with a specific group of 30 in charge of the public affairs of Athens. After the death of his teacher Socrates, at the age of 30, he left Athens and traveled possibly in Egypt and later in Sicily. In Egypt, he studied there for a period of 13 years and his mentor was Xenophis or Sneferu, a scholar and philosopher priest of Ano or Heliopolis. After that, he traveled or go to Sicily, and there he encountered the Pythagorean philosophy or the ancient Greek philosopher which prescribed a highly structured way of life and espoused the doctrine of metempsychosis or the transmigration of the soul after death into a new body, human or animal. The Pythagorean philosophy influenced his philosophical program. Next, in 387 BCE, he returns to Athens and he founded the academy. It is called Antigua Atenas or Platonic Academy. The academy's idea was to have an institution where dedicated scholars would meet, discuss, and lecture about the nature of the universe. Based on the principle of the academy, it is said that the students must learn to criticize and think for themselves, rather than simply accept the views of their teachers. It is mean that the students must have their own perspective, learn to criticize or correct someone to be right, and don't just accept the views of their teachers. In the Platon Academy, many of the finest intellects in the classical world were studied in there, like Aristotle. Next, Plato returned to Sicily twice to tutor Prince Dionysius. It is because his 3 trips to Syracuse in Sicily lead to a deep personal attachment to Dion, brother-in-law of Dionysius the Elder, the tyrant of Syracuse. Plato, at Dion's urging, apparently undertook to put into the ideal of the philosopher king, or they are making Prince Dionysius to become a philosopher ruler. But it was not success, and the ensuing instability, Dion was murdered. The important part of Plato's philosophy is the dichotomy of the ideal world, of the world forms, and the material world. It is said that the material world is what we see around us. And for Plato, it is where we live, is just a replica of the real world found in the world of forms. Plato's theory of forms asserts that the physical realm is only a shadow or image of the true reality of the realm of forms. So what are these forms? According to Plato, the forms are abstract, perfect, unchanging concepts or ideals that transcend time and space. They exist in the realm of forms. The dichotomy, or when we say dichotomy, is a division or contrast between two things that are or are represented as being entirely different. The dichotomy is reflected in his idea or Plato's idea of the nature of man. Plato believed that human beings composed of two things, a body and a soul. The soul, which is true, is the permanent or unchanging self. The soul or our soul is permanent or doesn't change. The body or unchanging body that we see in the material world is not the real self. It means that our body or what we see in our body is not ourself but only a replica of our true self. It is the reason why it is constantly changing, like getting older, changing shape, and etc. For Plato, the body is seen as a sort of a prison, and it tells there that we can free ourselves from the imprisonment of our body through of contemplation. Contemplation entails communion of the mind with universal and eternal ideas. The example of contemplation is that we sit and we think of our future. And last, it tells there that we continue to exist even in the absence of our bodies because we are souls only. Our souls is the one who continue the journey even our bodies is left behind.